and welcome to the latest edition of the Screen One interview. And today I'm joined by platinum and gold album country rock singer who's definitely having a different kind of year, Mr. Cory Marks. So, hello and welcome to the Screen One interview. How are you doing, Cory?
Hey Matt, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. I'm recovering from a tour with Theory of a Dead Man across the U.S. and I've been home now for about 3 days. I was gone for 5 weeks, and now I'm back to action.
So you've got your new album, Sorry for Nothing, due out on the 6th of December, which as we record this is next week. And you like I said, you just finished a tour with Theory of a Dead Man. Now, for someone who
Mhm.
does country music, Theory of a Dead Man, not necessarily the same bedfellows you would imagine on a tour. So how does that work?
Well, a couple of years ago, I had a song that come out called "Blame It on the Double," and it featured Tyler Conley. And you know, the music's great. Like they're a platinum selling rock band, of course. But um, I think the mold is that obviously we worked together, but this tour that we did was called the Unplugged Tour. So
Mm.
there was no electric guitars. It was all acoustic. They were full band, but with acoustic. And it was really interesting. And I think seeing that mold of country and rock come together, they're great songwriters. So it was like, you can really countrify some of their songs, if you will. And then we actually just released a new song called Living My Life Like a Country Song, which I'm featured on. Although they rocked it up a little bit, but it was still it wasn't too heavy, and it was just enough to go under the I guess country category, if you will. um but I think it's just overall, I'm a guy that obviously I'm country, but like I say, country with rock and roll attitude. So I could either go right from Merle Haggard type country to Keith Urban, if you will, or just go straight up to Ozzy and Pantera. So I like to mix it all up, and so it really worked out perfectly. It was a lot of fun.
That's excellent. So the new album, Sorry for Nothing, which we'll mention again, we'll keep putting that in there to remind
Yeah,
people
yeah, of
of nothing.
course.
I've had a listen, and it is an amazing album. So everybody, you need to get it on wherever you get your music from, either physical or streaming, wherever you get it from. Make sure it's out on the 6th of December. I will add that in again. Um,
Thank you.
what does the album represent for you at this point in your career, do you think?
I think it just really embodies who I am and what I am as an artist. Like I just mentioned regarding the live performance, I mean, there's songs on there. One of my favorites that I wrote, and I wrote it 7 years ago. I just really wanted it on this record. It's called "Late Night of Drinking Again," and it's very much your modern country, like Merle Haggard, maybe a little Vince Gill in there. Obviously, Merle Haggard's a huge influence on me, and that song was just, I was kind of going through some things at the time, and the song kind of explains it all when you listen to it. But then there's songs like "Make My Country Rock" and "Guilty," which are definitely on the heavier side or rock side. And this album is just really another, just like the first album, "Who I Am." It's an idea of, no pun intended, who I am, but also what you're going to get live. And I've often said, like, you can put me in front of Kid Rock, you can put me in front of Travis Tritt. I've been in front of Toby Keith, God bless him, but I've also been out with Five Finger Death Punch and ZZ Top. So I'll kind of fix my live show depending on what I think the crowd's going to be like. And this album is it's a bit of a roller coaster, and I think it's good, hopefully, for all the listeners of any genre, whether you're country, whether you're rock, or even metal. Um, One of the biggest compliments for me, in a bit of a weird way, is especially in my live shows and on this tour, I heard it thousands of times. Man, I hate country music, but I love your stuff. So it's kind of like, all right, well, this is bringing new listeners into country music, and some of them, obviously being rock fans, I've never heard of Merle Haggard or Waylon Jennings, and they go, wait a minute. So then they go back when they hear me talking about them, hear my stuff, and then some of them, have mentioned that. Like, I've never heard of Merle Haggard, but that's really cool stuff. Yeah, man, it's the Hag, you know. So I think with this record is just, I hope everyone loves it that hears it, no matter what genre of music. I just wanted to make the best record possible, my way, obviously, and hope the world loves it.
Mm. So you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but what were the central themes or stories that you wanted to explore in the album? I mean, the title "Sorry for Nothing" is quite bold. It's not, it doesn't pull any punches. So does it signify for you personally, musically? Is that
Well, that song specifically is very close to me. It's a special one because it kind of really elaborates on who I am, how I got here, in a way what I've been through, in a short story. Um, and I've really I picked the title because not only do I love the song, I think it's a very strong song. It's almost like a mix of the verses are like Eric Church, but then the choruses are a little Bon Jovi, Bryan Adams, you know. So I mean, it could be country, it could be rock, it could be country rock, whatever you want. I just hope you think it's a great song overall and that you connect with it. But really, overall, my career, it's always been, at radio or wherever. It's like, well, it's the I think it's our job. I've always said this. I think it's our job as artists to not be confined in the industry box where they tell you, here's how you got to look, here's how you got to sound, here's you got to write about. The song should be this length at this tempo. Where's the art in that? So I just kind of, like I said, try to write the best I can, sing the best I can, and have the greatest songs that I could come up with, and do it my own way, as as cliche as that sounds. um, and it's just straight up. It's kind of be unapologetically yourself.
That's great. That's great. So can you walk us a little bit through your songwriting process? I mean, do you start with the lyrics, the melody, or do you just let inspiration guide you and you sort of
It,
this is where I
um, I get asked that question a lot, and it's really it depends. Some days I'll come up and pick up the acoustic and play something, or I'll pick up the electric and be like, oh, that's a killer riff. Yeah, that's got to be a rock song. In the past, sometimes I'll either like an older song like Late Night of Drinking Again, for example. I was going through things that we've all been through with heartbreak and a bottle of Jack Daniels and all that good stuff. But there's sometimes you could take I guess moments that are a little harder, more difficult, maybe a little more sad, and try to turn it around into a positive outlook, if you will, so they can try to change the momentum or feel of the song. But really, it just kind of I listen to this Willie Nelson explanation of a song. If you're sitting there and you can't figure it out, it's been like 2 hours. Let it go. Come back to it. So I try not to. I try to write really from the heart in a sense of what I've been through or what somebody close to me has been through, or just what I'm feeling right now in that moment. And in that case, sometimes you can write a song and be like, oh man, I love this song, I love this song. And then next week, be like, the hell was I talking about? you know? So it all depends. And I think it's just a bit of a heat of the moment. And when you get in there, especially when you're writing with other great writers, like I've been very fortunate enough to do, it's kind of like, what do you want to write about today? But when you're on those writing trips, you're always writing ideas down. Like you could be out at a bar somewhere and be like, it could be a cliche title, but out at a bar. That's
mm,
it. And then, then you start thinking of stories, or what are you trying to say here? Did you meet a girl out at a bar? Or, did you get in trouble out at a bar? Like I'm just using a very fair example there, but it's just I just write about life and my personal experiences, or like I said, people that I know and love, or that I might not even know. You might see some homeless guy on the street and be like, man, like, what's his story?
mm.
And try to write about it like you know that person. So I don't think there's really any magical trick. It's just kind of is what it is, and you get what you get.
That's cool. So again, there's a strong mix of both country and rock on the album. So I know you kind of said you kind of just put there what's there, but do you feel you have to balance the two, or do you just sort of I'm going with this on this one, and actually I quite like that one?
Well, well, Steve. So this album is 13 songs, but it's probably out of 80 or 100 songs that I've written in the last 3-4 years. Um, so it's kind of like, well, and you look back at your last album and you go, okay, well, that was a very successful album, and then COVID hit, but if it wasn't for COVID, what would happen, and you look at the responses from that, and you look at other artists that started getting that are country that went into the rock lane. I mean, there's guys like Hardy and Jelly Roll was, excuse me, mostly rap. But I mean, it's funny. I get these interviews and it's like, oh, that's cool. You're doing the Hardy thing. It's like, No, not really. I mean, keep in mind I was on the rock radio charts 4 years before he was. This Northern Ontario kid, So I'm just again doing my own thing, my own way, and hoping people love it. But when it comes to this album, I like to take the audience, like I said earlier, an example of what it'd be like seeing me live. So you want to start off with a bang, get everyone going, and then get into those sing-alongs, and then you kind of bring it down a little bit, and then you bring them back up. So it's really just a roller coaster ride that I hope the fans are going to want to take that ride over and over again for years, And it's all about longevity in this game, and so that's kind of what I plan for. And like I said, I map out my albums, um, like I said, like I try to make it like a live show for the listener.
That's cool. That's cool. So, you mentioned "Sorry for Nothing," the new album out on December the 6th. Are there are there any tracks on the album that particularly stand out meaningfully for you? I mean, obviously they all do, but is there anything that, really?
Yeah, I mean, there's like again, every song I think on that is special and holds something close to me one way or another.
Mm,
There's a few off the top of my head. I mean, Sorry for Nothing being one of them, obviously. We talked about that. It's kind of a bit of where I come from, what I've been through, and kind of here I am, how I got here. 1949 is a real special song that me and my good friend Craig Brooks wrote. He lost his father a few years back due to an illness, and I lost my grandfather about it's been 10 years ago now, and at that time it was around 6 7 years ago. So even that song we wrote I think in 2019 or something. But it's a very special song to me, because so obviously, uh, your dad is like any man or any kid, it's your hero like mine is. But my papa, the special thing about that was my papa is a grandfather. I'm French too, so papa is French for grandfather. Um, but so my mom was the baby of eight, and I was the last kid born out of I call it the litter of all my cousins. So like I have cousins that are in their mid 50s, So when I was born, I had cousins that were, almost 20 years old already. But the special thing about that was me and my grandfather were born on the same day, 65 years apart. So they called us the evil twins. And he was my drinking buddy for many years, from 14 to 24 when he passed. Um, but he had this old truck, and so did Craig's dad had this old truck too. So we kind of wrote a, a passage through life, almost nostalgia, with memories that are touching, but you kind of want to, you want to. It's not meant to be sad, but it's more leaning on a nostalgic, uh, I miss you type song. A look back at the good times, but we kind of try to tell the story through this old pickup truck. As time goes on and it got old, it got refurbished, and gives it to the kid at the end, kind of thing, like my papa did to my cousin, gave him his old truck. So that one's very special. There's a song called "Tough to Be Strong," which is really I was going through a hard time due to the fact that I had my best friend growing up got caught up in some I guess some drugs and the wrong people. And we all know that not only here or North America, it's everywhere, that mental illness and drug addiction is a very powerful thing. And we all know somebody or love somebody going through it. And just to be straight up and out there and blunt, it's tough to be strong. Sometimes you got to let them hit, as they say, rock bottom, or you can't keep helping them out because it only lets them do what they're doing. So again, tough to be strong is one. But then there's, of course, Make My Country Rock, because it's really who I am. A little bit of smoke, a little bit of whiskey, a little down home, a little bit gypsy, and I'm country and I'm rock. So I think those are ones that really stand out for me off the top of my head.
mm,
Um, and Late Night of Drinking, again, just because that's kind of an homage or a tribute to Merle Haggard, and thinking like maybe that's something he would have wrote. I remember, and the cool story about that is when I wrote that several years ago, I remember I made an audio, I recorded it, and I was like, man, I got to show this to my parents. And I remember putting the phone on the table. I said, hey, what do you think of this song? I never said anything. I said, hey, what do you think of this song? And I pressed play, and it's just an audio iPhone recording. And my parents are both huge Merle Haggard fans, and I was like, wow, I've never heard that one. I'm like,
mm.
well, of course not. And he's like, well, what Merle record is that off of? And I kind of giggled. I said, that's not Merle, Dad. That's mine. He goes, you wrote that? I said, yeah, I just wrote it like half hour ago. And that was pretty special to be, have a song that my dad thought was a Merle song, but ultimately it was mine. So those are probably the top picks right now.
That's really great. Right now, we need to talk about the song "Fast as I Can." All right, I have a
Hmm.
question here because I've never been to Texas or Georgia or Daytona. So I've got these written down. I'm going to forget them all. I haven't been to Memphis and I haven't been to North Carolina, but I have danced to a Bourbon Street Band, but only in Disneyland, which is kind of weird.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
Um,
say you got me.
so the question, so the question is there anywhere you haven't been?
uh, you know what? I at the time I hadn't been to those places. I think I'd only been to Texas.
Hmm.
Um, but I've never been to you know, why can't it's still morning here. I can't think of
I'll put
the
you on the
verb
spot. Yeah,
where the Bourbon Street bands are, down in New Orleans, right? I've never been there yet, and that's one of those. And I've never been to. I might as well just sing the lyrics since I've never been there. But there's a few places I have been now, but there's still some. Georgia, I think I've only flown through, so I've never really, and Texas, I've played twice. So and it's really like in and out. So when I say I never been there, it's a lot of it's kind of based on the fact too that I might have been there, but like you're in and out. I've never seen anything. I just
technicality. Yeah, it's a
what
technicality.
yeah, exactly. So it's like I've been to a venue there and then never saw like, a Dallas Stars game or saw the whatever they're known for, or for example, dance to a Bourbon Street band. I still have yet to do that, but I will do that indeed.
That's cool. That's cool. So is there anywhere in the world you haven't been that you'd like to go?
Well, UK is
That's coming up later in my questions. We'll get to we'll get to that
there's
shortly.
really all of Europe. I've always been fascinated because obviously being a big aviation guy and plane guy, I was into a lot of war stuff too. And as you get older, you kind of look back when you see those movies like Saving Private Ryan and all that kind of stuff. It's like, what's there really to complain about given what these 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 25-year-old kids were going through at that time. But like all over that place, like in France and Germany and all over Europe. So I was always been fascinated by that, the history behind it, but the cultures and the infrastructure there. So there's lots of places. Ireland, of course, being Irish, having some Irish blood in me. Um, Germany, France, Italy would be really cool. As my great grandparents are right off the boat from Italy. So all those nice European places.
There's a second part to that song coming then, yeah.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Never been to Berlin, never been to Paris. The European version.
The European version, yeah. So you can do that when you do a European tour, he says. But we'll come back to that later. So how has your approach to songwriting evolved over the years? Have you noticed any sort of like shifts in the way that you write your lyrics or structure your songs? Is it, is it
Yeah, I think I've learned off a lot of great writers who have given me tips, and you know, um, I'm trying to write in a way where it might not be as predictable.
mm,
There's things like, you feel like, especially when you're first starting, um, you feel like, I mean, you hear it a lot on country radio, forgive me, but like it's, we call it cookie cutter.
mhm.
It's like everything's got a rhyme, but really, I think there's a lot of cool songs out there where like it doesn't necessarily rhyme, which I think is cool. So I've always, you know, that's one of the biggest things when you first start writing. You think like you gotta rhyme this word with this word, but you can also set up the next line to where, okay, now that makes sense. So I think just life experience and writing with writers like Kevin Churko and Kane Churko and um, Steve Brown of Trickster and Aaron Gillespie and a lot of like Nashville greats. Um, Buddy Owens and Gail Griffin, and those are guys on this record. And um, I think it's just experience, really. Just the more you do it, the better you get it, like anything else.
Yeah. So are there any specific challenges or rewards when writing a song that carry the elements of both country and rock? Is it, what I suppose what are the hardest parts about doing it and what are the best parts about doing it? Because you do the both country and rock. What are, you know, the juxtaposition of what's the hardest?
Like what? Well, the hardest part of deferring if it's a rock or country song, or
Or when you're writing it, when you're writing a song that combines both elements,
yeah.
what's the hardest part and what's the best part of doing all that?
Um, I mean, it's it's always hard to again just try to write it the best you can, and sometimes like you'll read through your lyrics and be like, okay, well that line's got to change or that word's got to change. There's a cooler way of saying this or doing that. So that can always be a challenge because you can have the song and you play, you're like, man, it sounds great, and you read over and then you're kind of like, all right, well, what could be this could be stronger. We got to tighten that up. And then the cool part is always recording it, producing it, and watching it come together. Because there's a song, for example, on the last record. Well, there's two. There's a song like Drive, my song Drive, where I wrote that on a napkin on an airplane. I could not get this melody out of my head. And I asked the stewardess for a pen and a napkin because that's all she had. There was no paper, nothing. And I was out of a dead sleep coming back from a video shoot on the red eye. And I wrote this song and we're in a jet, so you can't really hear it. So I'm, humming in my phone and I'm going, please, I hope that you can hear the melody. I could hear it barely over the jet engines. But when I got home, I figured out what key I could play it in. And it 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 was sounded a specific way. But then you get a master like Kevin Churko who gets it, and then he got that this really cool guitar riff intro, and I knew I wanted the drums to just be four on the floor, heavy, and so to for example, it was like there was a song I heard it this way, and then Kevin sends it back to me. I'm like, holy crap, this is like when he sent it to me I'm like, this isn't Drive because that heavy intro. So that's really cool to see that almost see well, I always say like a guy like Kevin takes a good song and makes it great because he's such a great producer. But then he also did that with a song called "Keep Doing What I Do." Obviously, is a bit of a message from me to anyone who's kind of going, well, I don't know about this guy. It's I'm going to keep doing what I do. And if you love it, great. If you don't, well, whatever. But um, it's really that song I'd written it and I'd written most of it and I got in the studio and same thing. We kind of built out the melody a little bit better, and then he wrote it with me and made it a lot stronger. And then the next day when I went in to record it, he had this like this really cool riffy thing, and that's one of my favorite songs to play live because country verse, rock chorus, and I even do some metal screams, so it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. So you talked about some of your songs being quite personal. Have you ever written a song that's too personal to share? And how would you decide what makes the cut or not?
No, I think again, it's our job as an artist to share that personal love, loss, or heartbreak, because at the end of the day we're all just human, and although we feel kind of alone sometimes, there's probably a million other people, not more, that are going through the same thing or will go through the same thing, or have gone through the same thing, one way or another. So I think it's important to kind of share that. The one thing that I've started writing, and it's probably a song I'll never be able to sing. I've got this cool concept for a dog song, and I don't think I'd ever be able to sing it live because I wouldn't be able to get through it.
Yeah.
So I think something like that would be the challenge.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if you can collaborate with any artist, past or present, who,
Mm.
why?
Well, there's a few. You probably already know what I'm going to say, but Merle Haggard would certainly be just a dream come true. Um, Eric Church, just because he was really the inspiration to take country and rock and you know I would say Travis Tritt, but I got two songs with him too, and he was kind of the pioneer there, along with Waylon Jennings. I think me and Waylon and I would be cool. I think a cool trio would be me, Waylon, and Travis. On the rock side, I've always wanted to do a song with Ozzy, just because Kevin produced a couple of his records, and I've always loved Ozzy growing up. And one of my favorite albums is the one that Kevin wrote and produced called Black Rain. Um, and yeah, I think Shania Twain would be fun just because we're both Northern Ontario Canadian kids. and Justin Bieber. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, I reckon
He's
America's
he's
rocking
great though.
out.
He is great though. He does his thing. But no, I think like that's probably my top picks right now. Just off the top of my head, I think that'd be a lot of fun and cool.
Yeah. So when people get the new album, which is out next week on December the 6th, or if you're watching,
December 6th.
it could already be out, just go and listen to it. You put a bonus track on the end, which is Learn to Fly by Foo Fighters, and you've kind of done that. So why did you choose that, and where did that come from? Was it just something you wanted to do, or?
That's another Kevin Tricko, you know, Kevin being Kevin, being awesome. It's so I'm a pilot, right? So in that time, I've been flying since I was 18, but excuse me, there was always something that interfered with finishing my pilot's license, whether school shut down or, there was COVID, there was whatever. So during COVID, with everything at a halt, there was a flight school that opened about an hour from where I live, and I would travel there every day to go. Sometimes I was doing 2, 3 flights a day because I said I got to get it done. I'm right there. I got to get it done. And I've been a fan of flying planes and aviation and air shows since I was a little kid. And at that time, we were trying to write some rock stuff, and Kevin really wanted to kind of embody these songs around flying one way or another. Hence the song "Flying" that I have out, right? There was that, and I wrote a song for the Snowbirds, our Canadian Forces Snowbirds, which is like the British Red Arrows, the air demonstration team. And really, it wasn't just a tribute to them, but it was a tribute to all the men and women of our forces. But this in particular, he had demoed the music and he sent it to me. And right away, obviously, when you hear the riff, I'm like, oh, okay. So then I'm like, all right, that's interesting. And then I saw this interview. He's like, so we decided to cut it. But then I watched this interview with Dave Grohl. I forget which late night show he was on. And he actually wrote it about learning to fly because always wanted to be a pilot. And so when you hear that and then I go, well, like there's also the whole background of Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl where he was a drummer, just like I was. Obviously, he was in a much more popular band, being Nirvana. Um, but drummer turned singer songwriter and frontman with a passion and love for flying or wanting to fly, and both being huge Rush fans. That was another thing. So I was like, this is a no brainer. And I grew up on that song. I remember hearing that song over and over again on the radio. And now that I recorded it and saw the lyrics, I'm like, this is what a great song, what a great lyric, what a great everything. And so yeah, I recorded that I think 2 or 3 years ago, and they decided to put it on this. We decided to put it on this record. So hopefully the Foo Fighter fans appreciate it and love it. And I think we did a pretty good job covering that song. We didn't defer too much off the original, but just go on there and do my thing, and it was a lot of fun.
No, I really enjoyed it. It's because when I didn't put two and two together when I'm looking at the track list, and it just came on, and I went, "Oh wow!" So yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's somebody else you should add to your list of you want to do stuff with.
Well, I would love to do. You know what? When we first recorded that, I thought to myself, I thought to myself like that's definitely a band or an artist I'd love to work
Yeah.
with or do something with. Maybe who knows? We'll see what happens. Maybe Dave will get hear it and say, hey man, hopefully it doesn't give me shit for covering it, but hopefully you want to be part of it.
Yeah, send you a large bill. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we talked about this earlier, or we mentioned it earlier, and us here in the UK, when do we get to see you come on tour out here?
Well, I won't say too much, but you're gonna see me in 2025.
Oh,
I'll
that's
I'll
good.
say that. Yeah,
Can't
I cannot wait. I've been wanting to go. My brother played hockey in Coventry and Sheffield for a
amazing.
couple years. He's an NHL draft pick. He played I think 6 years in the AHL and in the East Coast. And after I think it was his 10th year as a pro, he decided to go overseas and played a little bit in Germany. And like I said, played in Coventry and Sheffield. And I never got to go see him play. I never got to go over there. My parents did, but I never went. So I'm going to be coming over there in 2025, and we're gonna we're gonna kick some ass.
Absolutely, which segues beautifully into my final question. So what's next for you after Sorry for Nothing, which is out on December the 6th, everybody? Any tour dates, music videos, projects, or anything we should keep an eye out for? Other than obviously you're going to be touring by the sounds of it next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be touring lots between Canada and the US and of course in Europe. Um, I think, just gonna see how this album does. And we're just gonna, I'm gonna start playing it a lot more live and a lot more touring. But since I've been doing so much writing, I mean, I pretty much have a third album ready to go, or fourth album for that matter, ready to go. So I'm hoping maybe sometime mid 2025, you might start hearing some new music again, and maybe a whole new other record. So that's my hopes and dreams. And one of my biggest things that I've been wanting to do for my entire career is now that we're approaching that time of year is a Christmas record. That's been a dream of mine since I started this thing. So maybe it'll be a Christmas record, maybe it'll be a brand new Cory Marks record, or maybe both. But um, stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening.
Yeah, sounds good. The good thing about Christmas albums is you can just throw them out there because
Exactly. Yeah.
it's not like you're building up to a big release. You just go, here's the Christmas album. So
Yep.
just do that. So that was
And
the cool.
then you only listen to them for a month out of the year, so
Yeah. Or a couple of
it's
months.
perfect. Yeah, a couple months, sure. Yeah.
It's all good. No, I think that'd be a great idea. And I better get the UK tour exclusive announcement. That's all I'm saying. Just
Yeah, I'll give it to you. It could be off the record.
yeah. Well, yeah, we can talk about that after the show. Yeah. So anyway, but that's been brilliant, Corey. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks,
Once
man.
again, everybody, Sorry for Nothing is out next week or December the 6th, on in record shops and wherever you get your music from, and you're online and digital and everything like that. So make sure you get hold of it. It's a great album. Once again, thank you very much,
Thank
Corey.
you.
And
Thank
this
you.
has been the Screen One interview. Goodbye.
So here's to you.